Aski here for Nerf TV, bringing you our first bite of The Witcher 3. The air is thick with tension and the smoke of burning villages. The Empire of Nilfgaard is torn through the northern kingdoms, leaving blood-soaked fields and war-swept wastes behind them. But while men fight and generals play chess with their lives, a darker, deadlier force emerges, and these armies fail to see their conflict is nothing when compared to the Wild Hunt. For centuries, the spectral riders of the Wild Hunt have plagued mankind, taking men, women and children from their families, and those who are lucky enough to return home decades later have not aged a day. This time though, the Wild Hunt is only after one particular soul. The one soul you consider kin.
Some fight for glory, justice or gold. I fight for those I hold dear. I'm Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher.
As Geralt, you are a witcher, a beast hunter with great powers and expert sword skills. People hire witches to slay monsters that plague their homes and villages. A lone wolf, Geralt was trained as a child to become a beast slayer. He underwent many mutations and experiments, giving him practically superhuman strength and mental abilities. The Witcher series has always had mostly positive reviews and certainly improved from the first game to the second, and this, the final installment, looks to be the crowning piece, which is nice to see as often the sequel sucks. This is the first title to move from a linear story into an open world experience, and that brings with it some great opportunities for the design team, but also plenty of challenges for them to overcome. The story has always been the centre of the series, and moving the game into an open world can often water down a narrative by giving too many side quests that make the central story lose all urgency and importance. But they claim to be making no compromise on the game's mature and complex narrative. They have two ways of doing this. The first is the storybook, animated and voiced reminders within the game of the last thing you did along the main story. The second are flashbacks. These focus more on choices you've made and the consequences of them. How are these going to be implemented? I have no idea. Perhaps in the loading screens or when coming back to the game, or maybe a menu option? It seems a little weak if that's just it, and I worry about how the balance of story and open world will really work out. The storytelling element was so important in the previous games, and I really hope it stays strong once again. Characters in the Witcher games have never been plain and forgettable NPCs, and they often have a much deeper interaction with you than simply sending you on a quest. They're likely to accompany you on the journey or assist in some other way. Quite different from most RPGs where just some random shopkeeper sends you on a FedEx quest, or you have to go and collect 10 rabbit's feet. Of course, the quest could be the same old thing just with a companion, but they claim they won't be. The plan is to split quests into different types and make sure each region has a diverse mix so they're not overused. They also intend to make each quest memorable. Even the smallest side quest should have something that sticks out and sticks with you. The world map is huge, over 30 times bigger than The Witcher 2 and 20% larger than Skyrim. This is going to create a huge amount of open space for you to cross by both foot, horse and boat. Filling this huge expanse of space will not be easy, especially if, like I mentioned before, they're also trying not to dilute the main story. Open world quests are going to be set up in event clusters. These are regions of the open world in which a number of events and quests will be available. So, for example, if you're at point A, there are events happening there and there's also some quests available. One of these quests will send you to point B. Along the way, there are things to see and do, and then when you get to point B, there will be more events and more quests. Although they use some fancy terminology when talking about this, it doesn't really sound a lot different to quest hubs in most RPGs and MMOs. I suppose it depends on where the area between A and B is filled and how well it's filled, but we'll have to wait and see. Branching story is a big part of any good RPG, and The Witcher doesn't hold back. Throughout the story you'll be making choices, and these are going to affect not just the main story but also the open world as well. I really want to see this executed nicely. So many open world RPGs try to create this feeling where you're a hero and a lot of weight is put on your choices. However, outside of the main story and maybe a little bit of dialogue, your actions mean nothing, and I find that to really break my immersion in the game and detract from my investment in the world. Polygon reported that the game will have over 300 small changes in the game's endings and 36 different world states at completion. Pretty impressive. It will also feature 3 different playable epilogues that can only be achieved by playing through the whole game, making different choices along the way. I really hope all this isn't just marketing speak and it really is a true RPG where your actions really matter in a tangible way. That's the single player experience I really want out of this game. Combat is said to be dynamic and tactical and rooted deep in traditional RPG systems. Thankfully, the combat will also be based on a variety of actions at the player's disposal and not just on a correct attack sequence that we've seen before. This is a good improvement and I want to feel like I'm really actually doing something in combat, not just hitting the same key or the same combo of keys over and over. As you would expect, the monsters are a real challenge in combat, each with their own lore and they must be hunted and defeated. They all have their own mechanics and respond to changes in their environments. The Witcher's sense system will also allow Geralt to locate weak points on the target for his attacks and his magics. Unsurprisingly, the game looks great graphically and seems to have superior atmosphere and ambience compared to similar titles. Locations are realistic and the weather is dynamic. Coupled that with a day and night cycle and an ever-changing world, I hope to see some fantastic views. The cinematics we've seen also look fantastic and I hope for quite a few of them in the game. With a story as deep as what we're hoping for from The Witcher 3, being able to sit back and take it in from time to time is nice. The game still looks like its previous Witcher titles, but the details are greatly improved, animations are tighter, and it altogether looks like it's going to be using your PC or your next gen hardware pretty well. Mechanics like an alchemy system, crafting and a living economy are also included in the game. The economy being the most interesting. Prices of items you buy and sell will depend on a number of factors, mainly relating to position. If you're far from the water, fish will be more expensive, but if there are many hunters and trappers in the nearby woods, levers might be cheaper. While pretty simple, something like this does add an element of realism to the game, but with fast travel implemented, I suppose you could just hop around the map getting the best deals. My biggest hope for The Witcher 3 is that it really puts me into the world of a Witcher, being able to be that monster hunter for hire. The previous games had this epic storyline, but a part of me always wanted to just do what The Witcher of the books was bred to do, and hunt and kill monsters. Secondly though, I still wanted to have the epic main storyline. I don't want it to be dulled down to appeal to a broader audience. The games have always been mature and complex, and knowing the different factions and who's allied with who is important to the story. And I like the politics, I like the complexity. It's what set the previous games apart from similar titles. I don't want Geralt to be running around collecting a group of friends. I want him to be the cold, hard, deadly man he is. And lastly, as I mentioned before, I want my actions to mean something. For a long time now, RPGs have lost that. Some still have a couple alternate endings, or maybe the guard's dialogue changes here and there, but what I want to see is choices that give me a unique experience compared to others. I want my game to contain characters that have died in my friends, or to have a scorched earth on my map where a village stands on yours. And I don't think any of that's too far away from what The Witcher 3 looks to deliver. Releasing in 2014 for PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, I've been Aski, you're watching Nerf TV. Subscribe for more Witcher 3 content as well as many other great titles. Thanks for watching.